Coming up on Hunter News Now, an award-winning New York Times journalist comes to the Roosevelt House to talk climate change.
And what you need to know if you're getting ready to enter the film and media workforce. We'll have an update from a Career Day panel. All that and more in this edition of Hunter News Now.
Welcome to this edition of Hunter News Now. I'm Cesar Perez.
And I'm Addie Gettenberg.
It's not every day that students get to mingle with an award-winning New York Times journalist, but they did last week at our annual Pulitzer Center talk at the Roosevelt House. This year, that journalist was Nathaniel Rich, a writer-at-large for the New York Times Magazine who reports on climate change. Hunter is a member of the Pulitzer Center's Campus Consortium, which funds both the talk and reception. Caitlin Munson has more on this year's sold-out event.
To me was how to write about this issue in a new way.
The Roosevelt House welcomed award-winning writer Nathaniel Rich to discuss his Pulitzer Center-supported project, Losing Earth, in this year's Pulitzer Center event at Hunter College. His article in the August 2018 New York Times Magazine explains how political and business leaders agreed on the causes of climate change, but failed to act 40 years ago when it could have been stopped. Although climate change is now well underway, Rich says there's still time to act.
Or we suffer total defeat. And of course, with climate change, there's a huge range of outcomes in between that range from a manageable existence to apocalypse. And so it's certainly not too late to make an effort. It's never too late to make an effort.
Rich says it's important to understand the history of climate change to know what to do next, and welcomes questions from the audience.
Movement against climate change, and if there's something that we can do about it.
In addition to the annual talk, the Pulitzer Center also sponsors student reporting fellowships like Hunter's 2018 fellow Kadia Goba, who produced a story about deforestation in Sierra Leone.
I ended up doing a story that I didn't expect, and it was only because I was visiting the mudslide location one day and I came across like 7 women who were wearing hard hats, and where do you see 7 women wearing hard hats anywhere?
Director of the Student Fellow Program, Kem Sawyer, says the Pulitzer Center's mission is to amplify stories like Kadia's and all its fellows.
We at the Pulitzer Center want to make sure that the story has legs and can reach as broad an audience as possible. So we love having events that showcase the work of our reporters.
Rich continues the conversation in his new book, Losing Earth, A Recent History, which expands on the original 30,000-word article. The book is set to release April 9th, both online and in stores. Reporting from the Upper East Side, Caitlin Munson, Hunter News Now.
The Pulitzer Center also provides one student each year with a fellowship to pursue an overseas reporting project. This year, Hunter journalism student Audrey Hanson won the Pulitzer Center Fellowship Award. The $3,000 grant will give Hanson the chance to report on dementia villages in Japan, a new initiative to train community members to help with the elderly people who are memory impaired. The Pulitzer Center staff and a professional journalist will help Hanson with her story. She will be traveling all over Japan, including Tokyo. Hanson says is very excited to learn about these communities. Congratulations, good luck to our fellow Hunter student.
On Wednesday, April 10th, adjunct professors took to the third-floor Skybridge to demand higher salaries and new contracts. Protesters participated in a sit-in and occupied as much space as possible to show they were not backing down. Adjunct professors earn about $3,500 per course, and many say their salaries are not a living wage. The Film and Media Studies Department just hosted its first career fair last week. Students interested in everything from news to virtual reality learned about these careers and internship opportunities. The panel, moderated by Professor Adam Glenn, included representatives from NBC Universal, Little Giant Wolf, Magnolia, and Movers and Shakers. Students like senior Sarah Cabrera left with lots of good tips.
I came here today because I wanted to gather more knowledge on how to better present myself when applying to companies. I do feel like today's presentation has been beneficial and answered a lot of questions.
At the end of the career fair, students are able to network with the panelists and learn more about the media business and potential internships. For those of you who aren't entering the workforce, summer is around the corner, which means if you're taking any summer courses, you need to secure your seat as soon as possible. Registration for summer classes has started already and ends on June 1st.
And registration for fall classes begins on May 1st. Make sure you sign up on time so you get the classes that you need. The last day to add classes for the fall semester is August 26th. To register, you can visit your CUNY First website. And coming up on Hunter News Now, we'll be sitting down with a very special guest who is doing his honors project, Standing Up.
Stick around. It's time for honors students to turn in their thesis projects. Those usually involve lots of research and writing and rewriting, but one media studies student has something else in mind that includes a comic, a host, and a live audience. Hunter News Now reporter Alonso Espinoza explains.
I'm a garbage man. Pick up garbage, and frankly I love it. I got a real passion for trash. There's an old saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I am that other man.
This is Lucian Formicella, an honors student performing stand-up comedy in the Hunter Norv's TV studio in front of a live audience. The question you may be asking is why? Well, the answer is simple: to graduate.
Basically what I did was I pitched it as a thesis initially to Professor Miranda, and he told me that although he loved the idea, there would be a lot of trouble getting someone to sponsor the thesis. So he suggested that I take a separate class called, I think it's called film production. Everyone in the class makes a movie, and if you do well, it takes the place of the honors thesis. So I pitched this as my movie and filmed it. We're going to edit it soon, and hopefully I'll graduate. My boss just got out of prison. That's why he's the boss. He's the toughest guy, right? So we're hanging out one day, and he just looks at me and goes, "Lucian, you know how to make prison chili?" And I was like, "No, why don't you tell me?" And halfway through the recipe, though, I realized it was just my mom's recipe. He looked at me again. He was like, "You want to know how to make prison cheesecake?" And I was like, "What is it? You crush up some graham crackers and pour condensed milk in and microwave it?" And he goes, "How did you know?" I did a bid called Adolescence.
This was one of Lucian's many jokes during his 30-minute performance.
That's probably one of the best sets I've seen him do. I've seen his comedy several times over the years, probably about 10 times over the years. And that was really a great set. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Watching it as a dad, I think it was really exciting to see how he was able to tie together a lot of his childhood experiences into a comedy act. So it was fun to see.
I thought it went really well. I think we have some really good stuff to cut together, and I'm really happy with just being able to do it. It's a really big accomplishment being able to do 30 minutes, and I was really grateful that the school let me do it, and so I'm really happy with it. I think it went really well.
And this is just the beginning of Lucian's career in stand-up, but for now, he's joking his way to graduation. I'm Alonso Espinoza, Hunter News Now.
While many seniors are scrambling to finish up the last pages of their thesis, I'm sure you could tell that Lucian Formicella has a rather funny way of doing things, including his honors project.
Today, we're lucky enough to have Lucian as our guest on Hunter News Now to tell us in person how he put a unique spin on a senior thesis.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. I was told to be funny, but also G-rated, so.
Going back to where, or better said, when did you find that you have the talent to make people laugh?
I still don't know if I have the talent to make people laugh, but I don't know. I just always enjoyed doing it. I'd make my sister and family laugh or whatever when they were sad and stuff, and it just kind of grew from there,
Mm-hmm. Was it a hard sell to pitch your thesis to these professors as something other than like a very formal research paper?
Yeah, I mean, I guess originally they were like, okay, so you're going to write a 30-page paper on stand-up, and I was like, no, I'd like to do 30 minutes of stand-up, and I worked with some professors. Everyone who I've said it to kind of liked the idea. They were like, wow, that's kind of interesting, but the term getting it past the board was brought up a lot. So Professor Miranda, who was awesome, kind of gave me a little loophole where, I don't know if it's a loophole, but there's a film class where if you get a good grade, it takes the place of the honors thesis. So I pitched it to that professor, and Professor Zawabi, who's also been awesome, and I pitched it as a film, so that's why we filmed it, and we're about to edit it soon.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
There's a question about, or a debate about, some people said that it's more difficult to make people laugh than make people cry. So what would you say about that?
I mean, I've done some acting stuff before, but I kind of like doing comedy because you can't like fake laughter really. I mean, you can, but I mean it's kind of obvious. You know what I mean? It's if you're on stage and you're doing a really serious monologue and no one's saying anything, I'm always like, man, am I doing well or am I bombing? But with comedy, I know when I'm bombing, so I find that reassuring.
So how do you think your thesis went? What was the crowd's reaction and all that?
I think it went pretty good. There was, one night it was better for some jokes, and the second night it was better for others. So we're gonna look at what we have, and we only sort of just looked at the footage a little bit, and it was pretty good. But we're gonna see what we have and get editing, and I'm just taking some time off right now.
Great, exciting.
How much of your personal life and experiences, even at Hunter, had played into your stand-up?
I think most of them. I mean, I do a lot of stories. I had maybe 2 or 3 minutes of observational bits in the thesis project, so it's mostly stories, and I just take them and I cut them down until all the stuff that's not funny is out of them, and that's how I go. So it's all personal experience.
Cool. So what are your plans after graduation? Do you want to continue your comedy career?
Yeah, I mean, ideally. I kind of had a little bit of an ulterior motive for filming this because in order to get work on the road and do clubs, kind of across the country, you need to send longer tapes in. So there's not many opportunities to get a long tape of yourself doing stand-up in New York City when sets are mostly 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So I recorded it, and hopefully it's good enough to send out and maybe get some spots out of it. So yeah.
Right. It's like a job application also.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad your show went well.
Me too. Not as happy as me.
Coming up, we welcome Christy Kaye with this week's Hunter Sports Report.
And you will meet our Scholar Athlete of the Week, who reveals her secrets to staying focused on any track or field. We'll be right back.
Now it's time to check in on Hunter Sports with Christy Kaye.
Hi Caesar, hi Addie, thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Last Friday, the Hunter men's volleyball team made it to the CUNY Athletic Conference tournament for a shot to bring home another championship. Their first matchup was against Medgar Evers College. They defeated them in 3 sets to advance to the CUNYAC finals. But a tough loss against Baruch College in the 3 sets in the championship match, leaving the Hawks in second place, with an overall total of 18 wins and 13 losses for the season. 4 players were awarded the CUNY-AC All-Star honors. And the team says they hope to keep their heads high next year, make a return to the finals, and win that championship. Congrats to the men's volleyball team on a great season. Now for Hunter's softball team. Last Thursday, the Hawks improved from their 7 wins and 1 loss in the CUNY Athletic Conference after a dominant performance against Brooklyn College. This victory now leaves them with 14 wins and 7 losses this season. Their next matchup is tomorrow against Lehman College in the Bronx. And a shout out to the Hunter women's volleyball head coach, Alyssa Broccoli, as she's honored with 2019's 30 Under 30 award last Wednesday. This award from the American Volleyball Coaches Association honors up-and-coming coaches at all levels of volleyball. There is no question that she's deserving of this award after leading the Hawks to their 5th straight CUNYAC championship. Congratulations to Coach Broccoli. Finally, for our scholar athlete this week, who is no stranger to awards herself, Skylar Gill, a sociology major on the Hunter track team, talked to me about how she stays on track in and out of her running shoes.
So I get super nervous for track meets. I've been doing it since 7th grade, and still the nerves don't go away. I can be very optimistic about how the track meet is gonna go, but still right before the gun goes off or right before I'm about to jump, my hand is still super shaky.
3, 2, 1, and jump.
Hi, my name is Skylar Gill. I'm 20 years old and I'm on the track team at Hunter College. My old coach used to tell me to think of a color right before I would do any event. Think of a color, only see that color. And that would like kind of calm me down because my brain's not occupied with, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. I'm just thinking about a color. And that's all I'm thinking about before I jump or before I run. Physically, track gives me a lot of endurance. It helps me like find a limit that I can hit and know that I have to work up to it. And then mentally, it gives me that rigid structure, so it allows me to know, like, I have to think this certain way to get this done, and if I'm more mentally hard on myself, I'm not going to compete as well as I can just because I am, like, in my own brain about it. It's like balancing school and track is pretty hard. As I said before, it's all about structure. So knowing that I have to give up other parts of my life in order to balance both of them, like I also have a job, so my social life kind of like flows with track. I don't really have an individual social life. So with the group that I do practice with, we did become like super close friends. A lot of my best friends I've met in track, and all of my current best friends I met at Hunter Track. So we're all super close. They see me at my worst where I'm like crying over the sport, and they see me at my best where I'm like super happy, like had a good practice or just overall had a good day, and like I can always finish my day with them.
Skylar Gill is not graduating just yet, so we'll see her right back on the track next year. And that's it for sports.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Of course.
And coming up, we'll tell you why Library Day at Hunter is so special for faculty authors and how you can learn more about their work.
And we'll show you how African American fashion, music, and culture are celebrated at Hunter right after this.
Hunter College has a lot of talented authors right here on campus, and every April, the college celebrates these writers and their scholarship during the Library Day. This year's event showcases professors who have published scholarly articles or books in the past year. Hunter News Now reporter Annie Murphy has more on this special day every spring.
Over 20 years, the Hunter College Libraries have dedicated one day in April to showcase Hunter faculty authors. The festivities include food and drink, book signing, and guest speakers. Outreach librarian Sarah Ward has been running this event for the past 6 years and feels it is important to celebrate faculty accomplishments.
Well, our faculty are out there doing the work in the field, and it also translates back to their work in the classroom, so it raises the profile of our college by helping the students and also helping the faculty become more visible and contribute to the fields that they're working in.
Although nearly 30 authors are featured, the library chooses one guest speaker, and this year it is art history professor Hendrik Day. Day is a 3-time veteran of Library Day, and his latest book about the Middle Ages is featured in this year's lineup.
So I send all of my books out in the world, and I hope people will read them, and I hope people will buy them, and if they do, that's great, and if not, it's okay because I'm working on the next book anyway. So in a way, I guess it's nice to remember that I wrote this book and that maybe some people will care about it, and so hopefully they will.
Brian Lynn, who had worked at Hunter as a librarian back in 2005, is now chief librarian and dean of libraries. Lim says he's excited to be back and loves what Library Day stands for.
We're celebrating the work of faculty, students, and here at Hunter College, and we're also celebrating the achievements of the library staff and faculty.
After faculty autograph their books, the librarians put the signed copies into special collections of Hunter College, preserving them for future generations. And for those wondering where they can find the faculty author books, they can come here to the archives and check them out themselves. I'm Annie Murphy, Hunter News Now.
Part of what makes Hunter College so special is its emphasis on cross-cultural education. The college's official mission statement says Hunter graduates will develop the sense of belonging to a larger, more diverse community. One of the ways to meet that goal and teach students to appreciate cultural differences is through Hunter's culture clubs, like the African Student Union. Alexandra Ali has more on how ASU celebrates its African heritage through music, dance, and fashion.
That's the sound of African drums at the La Nuit des Africains fashion show last Saturday. Hunter students of all backgrounds got together to celebrate African American culture.
This is us, this is who we are, this is how we party, this is how we show off. Yeah, we just want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be acknowledged, and this is a great way to do it.
Freshman Miles Nutifafa, model and vice president of the African Student Union, says events like these help people understand African traditions.
But this is like a fashion show, so people get to see culture, they get to hear it, our music.
This event, run by the African Student Union, is the second annual fashion show run by the club. African American designers from all over Manhattan are invited to showcase their collections and models. 20-year-old designer Makasian Koman, who studies at the Berkeley College of Fashion Design, spent the last 2 months working on her collection.
Every time I see my work on the models, I get nervous, but I'm like, it's really me. Like, I'll be so excited.
African Student Union member Christina Mason is familiar with the feeling of walking the runway as she modeled in last year's fashion show. Soon, she'll support her African American community in a different way.
I want to go to Africa and like visit. It's really cultural appreciation all around for just Black people. I just love it.
The African Student Union meets every other Wednesday in Thomas Hunter 313, and Miles Nutifafa calls this community a family. Alexandra Ali, Hunter News Now.
Tech Talks are all the rage around the world. Earlier this month, John Jay College hosted a TEDxCUNY conference. I had the chance to see the speakers in action and saw firsthand how this event gives people the opportunity to share the new ideas and inspire change. TEDxCUNY is the largest TEDx University event in the country, and also the first university TEDx conference in New York City. Entirely organized by CUNY students, the program connects people who want to share inspiring ideas.
I think TEDxCUNY allows me to reach across the aisle in ways that I understand my identity better, better reflected, as opposed to just having a niche group to surround myself with all the time.
This year's theme, What Matters Now, focuses on personal experiences that may help others change their lives and impact their communities, like community organizer Africa Oath, who in 2011 was incarcerated at Rikers Island and now advocates for justice for other people of color.
Because we can see celebrities and, you know, we'll think, of course they know this information because they have access to it. But when you see someone that you can identify with, the message resonates much stronger and will impact you in a very different way.
Attendees like Shrey Jogani also have the chance to learn about local initiatives.
If you come into TED Talks, you will gain something. I don't know what you will gain, but you will gain something. And that's the best thing about attending a TED Talk.
If you want to learn more about how to be part of TEDxCUNY as an organizer, participant, or even as a speaker, visit TEDxCUNY.com.
And for those of you staying in New York City this spring break, don't worry, there's plenty of fun to go around. Here are some free things to do in the city during your break. Go check out some Picasso at the Museum of Modern Art. Admission is free for all CUNY students, so don't forget to bring your CUNY ID.
Take a walk down the High Line and see their beautiful gardens. If you make it to the end, you can see the Talk of Town, the new Hudson Yards, and the Bethel.
You can also go on a fun shopping spree and see Macy's annual flower show in the 34th Street flagship store. This year's theme is a space-inspired floral fantasy. And the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens is free on Fridays before noon. Check out all the new exhibits and take a breath of fresh air within the city.
So what are your plans for the
I was just going to ask you the same thing. I'm going to Puerto Rico.
Good for you.
Thank you.
I'm going to be catching up with homework.
Yeah. And that's all for this edition of Hunter News Now. Please check out all our student stories at our YouTube channel, Hunter College Journalism.
Follow us at Hunter Journ on Twitter and at Hunter GOURPGM on Instagram. And on behalf of everyone in the studio, thank you for watching and have a great spring break.